Listen, when I say Prince William has finally had enough, I mean he's done being nice. For years, he's watched one headline after another turn the royal family into a TV drama show. The leaks, the tell-all books, the family problems shown to the whole world. And through it all, William stayed calm, smiling politely while the storm grew around him. But lately, that calm broke. Behind the palace walls, people are whispering that William's patience shattered the moment he realized the crown's reputation wasn't being attacked from the outside. It was hurting from within. Do you know what's interesting when you think about it with the Sussexes? They do seem to sort of attach themselves to whatever's popular. You know, word is he's told his close friends that the royal family can't keep giving into feelings. Translation, no more second chances. To him, protecting the royal family means cleaning house, even if it means cutting off his own brother. People close to him say he's reached the point of no return. He's seen the mess. He's heard the making fun. And he's done watching the crown look weak. This isn't about getting revenge. It's about staying alive. And in William's mind, staying alive sometimes means swinging the sword. What William's planning will shock you, and it's already started. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications because this gets crazy. Let's dive in. Here's the thing. Behind those palace walls, conversations are happening that nobody's supposed to hear. Pattern. Harry says one thing and does another. Whether it's sharing private conversations with the reporters, throwing family, William's inner circle, the people he actually trusts, they're quietly drawing out what the royal family is going to look like in the future. And it's not loud, it's not messy. It's just calculated, planned out. We're talking late-night discussions in private offices, away from workers, away from anyone who might leak. The kind of talks that don't get written down, don't make it into any records. Just William and his closest advisors drawing out a vision. You are sad about a death at a very young age, any time really, but especially at a young age. I can connect closely to that. You feel pain like no other pain. And you know, there's this big question floating around the room every time they meet. What does royal even mean anymore? Like really mean, because for hundreds of years it was simple. You're born into the family. You get the title done. But William's watching the modern world and thinking that model's broken. He's seen what happens when people use royal status like a brand, like a product to sell. And he's not here for it. To him, being royal isn't about blood anymore. It's about showing up. It's about service. It's about actually doing the job that comes with wearing that crown on paper. And look, this change didn't happen overnight. It was, I was not the decision. We thought it was going to go our way. But it certainly I have a huge amount of understanding and caring. William spent years defending the old way, believing family ties mattered most. But somewhere along the line, watching scandal after scandal play out in real time, something changed in him. He started seeing the royal family less as a family business and more as something that serves the people. The royal family is there for the public, not the other way around. And if you're not serving, then what exactly are you doing with that title? Someone close to William described the whole feeling perfectly. They said it's not dramatic, just necessary. And that's the scary part, isn't it? When something's called necessary, it doesn't feel cruel. It feels logical. He has to, as you say. He has to uphold the traditions of the crown and do what is best for the royal family. And what's best for it feels like common sense. William's not sitting there twirling a villain mustache, plotting revenge. He's looking at who does what, who serves where, who actually represents the crown. And when you strip away emotion, when you just look at the reality, some names don't add up. Archie and Lilibet's names keep coming up in these conversations. Not in a mean way, more like solving a puzzle. These are kids being raised in California, nowhere near palace life, nowhere near royal duty. They're growing up American, basically. Beach towns and Hollywood, not Buckingham Palace and charity events. Prince William has made a shock threat to his cousins, the princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. So the question William keeps asking is this: if those kids are living completely outside the royal world, then why would they carry royal labels? What's the point? Can you really be royal without doing royal things? Can you hold a title that represents something you're not part of? It's not even about Harry and Meghan anymore. Not really. It's about what this sets up for the future. It's about what happens 10, 20, 30 years from now, when there are more royal children living private lives in other countries? Does everyone get to keep their titles forever just because of who their parents are? William's thinking long-term here. King Charles, I'm going to say this straight. Don't make the biggest mistake of your life. Give up the throne. He's thinking about his own kids, about George, Charlotte, and Louis. What kind of royal family are they inheriting? A big mess where everyone's technically royal, but nobody's actually working, or a small focus set up, where the title actually means something? That's the question William's been thinking about. And from what people are saying, he's already got his answer. He's decided that titles need to mean something again. They can't just be decorations you wear because your last name happens to be Windsor or Mountbatten Windsor. They've got to represent commitment, sacrifice, duty. At King Charles's coronation, Prince William made a surprising move that left Camilla embarrassed. According to the royal, all those old-school values that maybe sound outdated, but in William's mind are the only things keeping the royal family important. Without that, it's just a fancy family with expensive jewelry. What's wild is how careful this all is. William's not reacting with his emotions. He's not lashing out because he's angry at Harry or frustrated with Meghan. He's building a blueprint, a plan, a modernized version of what it means to be royal in the 21st century. And in this new vision he's designing, there's no room for part-timers. There's no room for people who want the good things without the responsibility. Did you notice Prince Andrew trying to approach Prince William? One of William's gestures made the situation instantly awkward for Andrew. It's all in or you're out. Simple as that. The meetings keep happening week after week, month after month. William's team keeps improving the plan, making it foolproof, making sure there's no room for confusion or pushback. They're thinking through every angle, every possible reaction, every way this could blow up. And they're preparing for all of it because once this train starts moving, there's no stopping it. William knows that. His advisors know that. And somewhere across the Atlantic Ocean, Meghan's starting to feel it too. So, there's this old royal tradition that's existed forever. And Meghan Markle, you've broken my son. I will not pretend anymore. The world deserves the truth. Honestly, most people don't even know about it. It's not flashy. It's not in the news. But it's probably the most powerful tool the royal family has. Basically, it lets whoever's wearing the crown decide who gets to be called royal and who doesn't. Just like that. Nobody gets a say, no committees, no asking around. The king or queen can literally redraw the entire family tree with one decision. Back in 1917, King George V used this exact power to completely rewrite who counted as royal. During World War I, people were angry about the family's German connections. This is the first time that the king has attended an official event for the LGBT community. And the royal family was looking messy with too many distant relatives, running around with royal titles. So George V just tightened it up. He said only the grandchildren of the king or queen get to be prince or princess. Everyone else, you're still family, but you're not royal anymore. Done, signed, sealed, changed the game overnight. And here's the kicker. That same rule from 1917 is what eventually gave Archie and Lilibet their royal status when Charles became king. Because suddenly they weren't just Harry's kids anymore. They were the grandchildren of the king. The rule kicked in automatically, title granted. But plot twist, those rules can change with each new king or queen. I hope we don't go back to some of the practices in the past that, Harry and I had to grow up in. And I will do everything I can to make nothing's permanent in this world. Nothing's guaranteed. Just because you're royal today doesn't mean you'll be royal tomorrow if things get updated. William Circle has been studying this tradition closely. And when I say studying, I mean really digging into how it works, how it's been used before, how it could be used again. They're looking at what George V did over a century ago and thinking, why can't we do something similar now? Because the world's changed. The royal family's changed. Have you noticed Prince William setting up his own press machine? His own big-budget royal projects? Even his own what worked in 1917 needs updating for 2025. It's not about being cruel or mean. It's about being practical. It's about survival. The beauty of this tradition is how clean it is. There's no mess, no drama, no public fights. The king or queen just updates the rules and boom, titles get redefined. People who were royal yesterday wake up and they're just not anymore. It's elegant in a harsh kind of way. And that's exactly what William's attracted to. He doesn't want chaos. He doesn't want a public battle. For over 3 decades, it was locked away, hidden behind the walls of Balmoral Castle. He wants a quiet, proper solution that gets the job done without turning into a circus. What people are whispering is that William's team has already started writing ideas for how this could work when he eventually takes the throne. Not now, not while Charles is king, but when it's William's turn. They're playing the long game here, thinking 5-10 years down the road, and the ideas being talked about are pretty straightforward. Royal titles should only belong to people actually working as royals. If you're not doing the job, you don't get the label. If you're living in another country, raising your kids outside the royal world. If I speak for Botswana, Harry can speak from Lesotho, but am well from Lesotho? I mean, it was fantastic to get the opportunity to go back. Choosing privacy over duty, then the title doesn't apply to you anymore. It makes sense when you think about it. Why would someone living in California, building a life completely separate from the crown, need to be called prince or princess? What purpose does that serve? It doesn't help the royal family. It doesn't help the public. It just creates confusion and gives people reasons to complain about the whole system being outdated and pointless. William's looking at this like you'd look at any business that needs fixing. You don't keep people on the list who aren't showing up. Pretty cutting. I don't see it as cutting at all. My brother and I love each other. You don't hand out rewards to folks who've checked out. And yeah, that sounds cold. But he's thinking about whether this thing will even exist in 50 years if they don't change. If they don't make tough choices now. So this old tradition, this power that's been sitting there for over a century, might be about to get dusted off and used again. And when it does, Archie and Lilibet's royal status could disappear just as quickly as it appeared. No fights, no drama, just a signature and a new rule. That's the power William's sitting on. That's the card he's holding while everyone's distracted by the noise. Windsor Castle has just confirmed that he died this morning. His health had been getting worse in recent months with several visits to the hospital. So, here's a fresh idea floating around William's group. Titles should only go to people actually doing the work. If you're showing up doing royal events, representing the crown, cool. You get to be called prince or princess. But if you're not, if you're living your own life halfway across the world, then what's the point of keeping the royal label? William's been asking this over and over. Why should someone raised completely outside the royal bubble carry royal titles their whole life? It's not about being mean, it's about making sense. If you quit your job, you don't get to keep your work badge, right? You're just not part of it anymore. Behind the scenes, there is tension between King Charles. That's all William's saying. Distance from the job means distance from the rewards. And look, this isn't some wild new idea. Royal families across Europe have been doing this for years. They've slimmed down, modernized, trimmed things down. William's just applying that same thinking. The difference is with the British royal family, everything's bigger. Everything's watched more closely. So William knows he's got to be smart about this. Make it look natural, expected. Even the plan is to let this happen quietly through tradition. Not with some big dramatic speech, just a quiet update to the old rules. King Charles has reportedly ended his marriage to Queen Consort Camilla, and the palace is in shock. One day the titles are there, the next day they're not. Clean, simple. Most people probably won't even notice until it's already done. William sees it as simple, no service, no status. You want to be royal, earn it, show up, do the work. That's the deal. It's not just about family bloodline anymore. It's about what you're giving back, what you're contributing. And that's where Archie and Lilibet's future suddenly looks uncertain. Right now, they're being raised in Montecito. American schools, American kids, American lives. They're not learning royal rules. They're just normal kids. It turns out there's more than what they've just shared in the documentary series. And in the interview, apparently, back in 2019, William and Harry got into a physical fight living normal lives. Which is great for them, honestly. But here's the thing. If they're living normal lives, then why do they need royal titles? William's point is, you can't have it both ways. You can't ask for privacy, ask for distance from the royal family, ask for freedom to live your own life, and then still want to keep the royal status. That's cherry picking. That's wanting the crown without wearing it. And William's not interested in letting that happen. The royal family has been criticized for years for being too big, too expensive, too out of touch. William hears that criticism. He knows it's true. Do you know how bad Prince William's temper can be? To the public, he's a charming, polite, perfect prince. But the real William has quite a temper. And he's decided that when it's his turn, that's not going to be the case. He wants a small, focused royal family where everyone with royal privilege is also putting in royal effort. So yeah, Archie and Lilibet are growing up in California right now, probably having a blast. But William's in London, looking at the big picture, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Are those kids going to suddenly start doing royal duties, move back to the UK, and serve the crown? Probably not. And if that's the case, then the titles don't really mean anything. They're just, I don't know how staying silent is ever going to make things better. Wouldn't your brother say to you? Fancy words attached to kids who have no connection to what they represent. That's what William's trying to fix. Make the royal family make sense again. And in his mind, that means being harsh about who gets to call themselves royal. It's not personal, it's practical. The job of keeping the crown important for another generation. Now, here's where things get really uncomfortable because this isn't just about the royal family anymore. It's about family, a father and son who see the world differently. And that divide's getting wider every day. Charles lives for second chances. Always has. He's a person who always hopes when it comes to family. Always believing broken bridges can be rebuilt with enough patience and love. Why has it been so long since the Pope and a British king or queen have prayed together? Well, it's all because of this guy, Henry VIII, the Tudor king with many wives. He sees Harry as his son first, Duke second. In Charles's mind, you don't give up on your kids. You keep the door open. Keep hoping they'll walk back through it someday. William, he's watching a completely different movie where Charles sees family drama that'll blow over. William sees a pattern. Forgive, scandal, repeat, forgive again. Every time Charles extends an olive branch, what happens? Another interview, another documentary, another headline dragging the family name through mud. Prince Harry and King Charles is emotional and William's thinking, when does this end? Private conversations between them have got intense. Not screaming matches, more like cold silences. Awkward pauses. Charles keeps pushing for family unity, for healing, for bringing everyone back together. He mentions Harry's name, talks about the grandkids, suggests maybe there's a path forward if everyone just sits down and talks. William's not buying it. He's heard this before multiple times. And every time they've tried the let's talk it out approach, it's ended with more chaos, more leaks, more damage. We have had a statement in the last few minutes from William decided that kindness without limits is just letting things slide, and he's done letting behavior slide. That hurts what he's going to inherit. Charles is pushing for what feels right with emotions. William's pushing for what makes sense with logic. Two completely different visions for saving the same thing. Charles believes the royal family survives through family strength, keeping everyone close. William believes it survives through focus, discipline, cutting loose what's dragging it down. Both think they're protecting the crown. Both think they're right. What's wild is this divide isn't new. It's been building for years, probably since Megxit first exploded. But it used to be quieter, more manageable. Charles could still talk William down, convince him to take the peaceful approach. Not anymore. Something shifted. William stopped asking his father for permission, stopped running decisions past him, stopped caring whether Charles approved. People close to the family say William's patience ran out. The moment he realized every attempt at making peace just gave Harry and Meghan more material. Royal family martyred more stories to tell, more ways to keep the drama alive. And William started seeing his father's kindness as a problem. Not because kindness is bad, but because it was being used against them. So William made a choice. When it's his turn to lead, things are going to be different. He's going to draw clear lines early, make it obvious who's in and who's out, and stick to those lines no matter how uncomfortable. He's thinking long-term survival, not short-term feelings. And if that means disappointing his father, so be it. Charles still believes love conquers all. That family bonds are stronger than any scandal. The crown is trembling tonight, and it's Prince William who's just confirmed it 6 minutes ago. Standing before the ancient stone, William believes structure conquers chaos, that clear rules matter more than warm feelings. It's heart versus strategy, emotion versus logic. And both men are convinced they're protecting what matters most. They're probably both right in their own way. Charles is protecting the family. William's protecting the crown, and those two goals aren't lining up anymore. The tension between them isn't loud or dramatic. It's just there, hanging in the air every time they're in the same room. Charles looks at William and sees his son becoming cold, losing caring. A meeting between Prince William and the princesses, Beatrice and Eugenie, saying, William looks at Charles and sees a father too soft to make the hard choices. And somewhere in the middle, the crown sits, waiting to see which approach wins out. So inspiration hit William from the most unexpected place, Denmark. A few years back, Queen Margaret of Denmark did something that shocked her country. She woke up one morning and decided four of her grandchildren were going to lose their royal titles. Just like that. No warning, no explanation, no apology to her. She just made the choice and moved forward. Her grandkids, nice kids, no scandals, suddenly weren't princes and princesses anymore. In a jaw-dropping moment, Prince William and Prince Harry were left completely shattered by a revelation they never saw coming, just regular people with fancy last names. Her reason beautifully simple. Too many royals, not enough purpose. The Danish royal family was getting too big and she wanted to slim it down, so the people actually working could shine brighter. It wasn't punishment. It was clarity, focus, making the royal family make sense in a modern world. The whole country freaked out at first. People thought she was being cold, heartless. But you know what happened? Nothing collapsed. The royal family didn't fall apart. Life just went on, and after a while people actually started seeing her point. Listen, Prince Harry could lose everything. He's not flying to London for tea and biscuits. He's on that jet in full. The streamlined royal family looked sharper, more professional, more purposeful, less like a medieval leftover and more like something that actually belonged in the 21st century. William watched the whole thing happen like he was watching a lesson play out in real time. He saw a grandmother make an impossible choice, take the heat and come out stronger. And something clicked. He realized you could love your family and still make tough choices about the crown. Those two things didn't have to cancel each other out. Margaret proved it was possible to be both caring and harsh. People who know William say he was genuinely impressed. He called it bold, clean, and totally necessary. Did you notice Queen Elizabeth II publicly scolding Prince William? This is why William secretly cried at her funeral at the Queen. Not behind closed doors either. He mentioned it in conversations, used it as an example of smart royal change. Because what Margaret did wasn't just brave, it was effective. She showed you could modernize without destroying tradition. Trim the family tree without killing the roots. So William started digging deeper. He wanted to know exactly how she pulled it off. The timing, the communication, the family reaction. How she handled the media storm. His team allegedly started looking into it quietly. If your mother were still alive, do you ever think about how she might handle this moment? We wouldn't have got to casual conversations with people familiar with European royal families. Reading up on how Denmark handled the change and what they learned was fascinating. Margaret didn't make a huge production out of it. She explained her reasoning once clearly and calmly, then moved on. No dwelling, no apologizing, no second-guessing. That confidence, that clarity. That's what William locked onto because he knew if he ever went down this road, he'd need that same energy. Any hesitation would look weak. The Denmark model became William's blueprint. Smaller, sharper, more disciplined. Where do you draw the line? 'Cause I think that, he's been removed from public life essentially. He's a tight circle of working royals who earn their keep. Not a huge family tree where everyone gets a title just for being born. Other European royal families have done similar things. Spain, Sweden, the Netherlands all quietly slimmed down over the years. But Margaret's move felt different because of how direct it was. She didn't ease into it. She just did it. Clean cut. And William clearly admired that more than the slow fade method. Every time another headline dropped about Harry and Meghan, every time another interview aired, family business. It brings unbelievable sadness to know that the BBC's failures contributed significantly to her fear. William probably thought back to Denmark. He probably thought about Margaret making the hard choice, taking the criticism, and coming out stronger. And he probably thought, yeah, I could do that. The takeaway William got wasn't just about removing titles. It was about leadership, about having the guts to make unpopular decisions when necessary, about putting the royal family over individual feelings. Margaret showed him that sometimes being a good leader means being willing to look like the bad guy, and William seems totally okay with that trade-off. So, while Charles is trying to heal wounds and bring everyone back together, let's take a look at the line of who becomes king or queen next in the British throne. Of course, Prince Charles, the Queen's firstborn, becomes king. William's studying how to cut cleanly and move forward. He's not looking for making peace. He's looking for examples of people who made the tough choice and didn't look back. And Denmark gave him exactly that, a roadmap, proof that it could be done. Now, let's talk about California. Let's talk about Meghan. Because while planning this whole change thing, Meghan's entire world is built on 3 words: Duchess of Sussex. That's literally the foundation of everything she's built since leaving the royal family. Every podcast deal. It was terrifying to have my brother scream and shout at me and my father say things that just simply weren't true. And speaking of every brand partnership, it all comes back to that title. Remove those 3 words, and what do you have? An actress who had a decent run on a cable show years ago. When Meghan shows up to events, does interviews, pitches projects, she's not introduced as Meghan Markle, former Suits actress. She's the Duchess of Sussex. That title carries weight. It's the bridge between Hollywood celebrity and actual royalty. It's what makes her interesting. It's her golden ticket, her entire brand. So, when whispers started spreading about William's plans, Harry broke down the moment he opened Charles's final inheritance letter. No land, no titles, no heirlooms, just a handwritten note. You can imagine the panic. Word is her team went into immediate crisis mode. Emergency meetings, phone calls with advisors trying to figure out what this means. The question that kept coming up: what happens when it vanishes? Because here's the truth about Hollywood. It's not loyal. It cares about what you can deliver, what value you bring. And right now, Meghan's value is tied to her royal connection. That's what makes her different from every other celebrity launching a lifestyle brand or podcast. She's not just another famous face. She's royalty. It is my view that the dishonest way the interview was obtained greatly influenced what my mother said, or at least she has been. But the cracks were already showing Spotify. That massive podcast deal that ended. The partnership fell apart because the content wasn't bringing in the audience they expected. When Spotify walks away from a multi-million-dollar deal, that sends a message to the industry. Netflix signed Harry and Meghan to this huge production deal, big excitement, big expectations. But the projects that came out, they haven't set the world on fire. The documentary got attention mostly because of the drama, not the content. Beyond that, pretty quiet. Netflix hasn't canceled anything, but they've definitely cooled off. They're not rushing to approve every pitch anymore. So this must be roll in the 50s, and that lifestyle brand Meghan's trying to launch. She wanted it to be like Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, but with a royal twist. But it's struggling. The excitement isn't there. And without the royal title to lean on, what's the angle? What makes her product special compared to the 1,000 other celebrity lifestyle brands? Here's the reality check. Hollywood chases active royals, not former ones. There's a massive difference between being connected to the royal family right now versus being someone who used to be. One is current, important, exciting. The other is yesterday's news. And if those titles disappear, if Meghan can't call herself Duchess anymore, she crosses over from the first category to the second. Instantly, the glow's already fading and nothing's even officially happened yet. Just the rumors, just the possibility, and the industry starting to pull back. Brands thinking twice, invitations slowing down, the phone's not ringing as much. Everyone in Hollywood can see where this is heading. Meghan built her post-royal life on being next to power while being independent from it. Prince William breaks into tears as Prince Harry finally reveals how much he still loves him. She wanted the importance of royalty without the restrictions, the glamour without the duty, the title without the job. And for a while, it seemed like she might pull it off. But William's basically saying, no, you don't get to have it both ways. She'd still be famous, still be Harry's wife, still be a public figure, but the magic would be gone. The thing that made her special would just disappear. And in an industry as tough as entertainment, where you're only as valuable as your current importance, that's terrifying. When you've built everything around being the Duchess, becoming just Meghan again is more than a title change. His face was tired, his hands trembling slightly as he held the one object that had remained sealed for. It's an identity crisis. It's starting over. And the California dream she's been chasing, it might be further away than ever. So, here's where desperation really kicked in. Once Meghan realized William wasn't bluffing, she tried everything to protect what she'd built. Word is there were attempts to hold on to the Duchess identity somehow to keep that connection alive. Creative solutions, other approaches, anything to keep that royal shine. But the royal family was way ahead of her. While Meghan's team was scrambling, the royal family was quietly keeping royal names inside the family. Prince William allegedly told King Charles that he would have to pay to stay in his holiday house in Wales. Charles was reportedly disappointed when William told him, not through big announcements, just quiet moves behind the scenes, making sure royal titles stayed with the family, not turned into business ventures. The message was clear. You can't take the crown with you when you leave. And that's when Harry finally broke. After months of watching his family drift away, of seeing his wife's world fall apart, he made one last desperate phone call to his father, not as a duke calling the king, as a son calling his dad, just Harry trying to reach Charles, begging for the family he remembered before everything fell apart. Prince William is reportedly upset over Prince Harry's $8.5 million inheritance. On his 40th birthday on Sunday, Charles didn't pick up. He saw the call, saw the messages that followed. Word is he acknowledged them, maybe sent some brief response through an assistant, but didn't actually talk to Harry. He didn't engage. And for Harry, that silence screamed louder than any argument ever could. It said everything he needed to know, but didn't want to accept. The door wasn't just closing. It was already closed. That had to hurt. Not the royal stuff, not the titles, but the personal betrayal. Harry reaching out in his most vulnerable moment and getting nothing back. Breaking news. Why did Prince William start growing a beard again after 16 years? The Prince of Wales, who appeared before the cameras, just cold silence. The kind that tells you the relationship isn't broken. It's over. There's a difference. Broken things can be fixed. Over is final. Charles's silence was a choice. A purposeful decision to not give Harry the opening he was looking for. Because any conversation would give false hope, suggest there was still a path back. And with William pushing so hard, Charles probably felt his hands were tied. He couldn't promise Harry anything. The future king had already decided. Meanwhile, William wasn't even part of this conversation because he didn't need to be. He wasn't arguing anymore. He was just moving forward with the plan, reshaping what the royal family would look like. Prince Harry has officially reunited with his father, King Charles, at Clarence's house, marking the first time the pair have come face to face. Harry had become unimportant to that process, not in a cruel way, just factual. William had already written him out of the picture. Two brothers who used to be inseparable, who walked behind their mother's coffin together as boys. Now they're living on completely different planets. Harry's in California, desperately trying to hold on to some connection. William's in London, systematically removing any trace of it. Same bloodline, totally different futures. The silence wasn't just about ignoring a phone call. It was sending a message. You made your choice. Now live with it. You wanted out. You're out in all the girls' rooms. I was here. You told me that. Don't come back now that things aren't working. You're on your own. And Harry heard it loud and clear. For Meghan, watching her husband get rejected by his own family had to be awful. It confirmed what she probably suspected. They weren't coming back from this. No making peace on the horizon. Just cold reality. The royal family had moved on, and they weren't looking back. The silent treatment wasn't temporary. This was permanent. I won't be the next king. People always think that the one who desperately wants to escape royal life is Harry. But the one who really wants to escape is always a new normal. Maybe some messages through other people, but no real connection, no father-son relationship. Just polite distance. The kind you have with distant relatives you see at funerals, not your own dad. And the hardest part, Harry probably saw it coming. Deep down, he knew once William got serious, Once Charles stopped standing up to his oldest son, this was going to happen. But knowing something's coming doesn't make it hurt less when it actually happens, especially when it's your family doing it to you. So, let's get back to California, back to Montecito, where Harry and Meghan built their new life. I would love making peace with my family. There's no point in it because something shifted there not overnight, but close enough. The energy just changed. The phones I used to never stop ringing. Suddenly they weren't ringing as much. A noticeable drop-off. The kind where you start checking if something's wrong. But nothing's wrong with the phone. People just aren't calling like they used to. Invitations started disappearing. Those high-profile events Meghan used to get invited to automatically. Movie openings, fancy parties, exclusive parties. Those invitations dried up or they'd come with "we'll get back to you," or still figuring out the guest list. I have already informed William that he will become king next year. This decision code for "we're not sure you're worth the spot anymore." Meetings started getting mysteriously postponed. Brands that were chasing Meghan aggressively just months earlier went radio silent. Or they'd say, "let's revisit this next quarter." Polite ways of backing away slowly. Because Hollywood talks, the word spreading through the industry was basically, wait and see. Nobody wanted to commit while Meghan's royal status was in question. Nobody wanted to bet on someone whose entire selling point might disappear. Breaking news. Prince Harry has finally come back to the UK, and rumor has it he and Prince William have reached at any moment. Without that royal connection, Meghan's power disappeared. She's charming, well-spoken, pretty, but so are 10,000 other people in Los Angeles. The royal connection was a difference maker. That was a thing nobody else had. Without it, she's back to competing with everyone else. Meghan had to be facing the most brutal question. Who am I without this? Not philosophically, practically. She'd spent years building an identity around being the Duchess of Sussex. Strip that away and who's left? Just Meghan. And in Hollywood, just Meghan doesn't open the same doors. Her team was in panic mode. Prince Harry and Prince William's private text messages have been revealed. After the Duke of Sussex reached out to his brother when emergency meetings trying to figure out how to change direction, how to rebrand. They were coming up with new ideas, completely reimagining the brand. But changes take time. You can't just reinvent yourself overnight, especially when your previous identity was so big. And momentum is merciless. Hollywood doesn't wait for you to figure yourself out. It just moves on. There's always someone newer, more exciting, more current. And while Meghan was trying to figure out her next move, despite the Duke of Sussex flying almost 11 hours to see his father, following his shock cancer diagnosis, Prince Hollywood was already chasing the next thing. The California dream they'd been chasing was starting to look a lot more complicated. They thought they could have independence and importance, freedom and access. Prince Harry was there, all smiles by himself. Interesting seating arrangement. You know, they really put him off to the side, past him. But William was proving you can't have it both ways. You can't leave the royal world and keep its benefits. The worst part is probably the waiting because nothing's happened yet. William hasn't officially stripped any titles. Everything's technically still in place. But everyone can feel what's coming. That anticipation, that dread, that sense of certain disaster approaching. Oh, Michael Christine 1984, do you remember your little brother being born? So that means that might be worse than the disaster itself. Montecito used to feel like a victory, like proof they'd escaped and built something better. Now it probably feels like exile. The sunshine's still there. The views are still beautiful. But the momentum, the feeling they were building towards something, that's gone. And without it, even paradise starts feeling like a prison. So here we are back in London where this whole thing started. And something feels different. For the first time in years, there's this strange sense of calm at Buckingham Palace. Like the storm finally passed and everyone can breathing right now. The British royal family in one of its biggest crises in history. Breathe again. William did what nobody else would do. He drew the line. Not with anger or drama, just with cold clarity. Family's still family. But William made it crystal clear that the crown comes first. And once you accept that mindset, all the hard decisions become easier. The royal family looks different now. Smaller, sharper, almost reborn. There's a focus that wasn't there before. Less noise, less chaos, less drama spilling into headlines every week. Whether that's good or bad depends on who you ask. The public can't decide what to make of William yet. There was no cost of living crisis for the royal family. It's taxpayers' money, your money, it's my money, it's the viewers' money. Some see someone cold-blooded who cut off his own brother. They see him as harsh, maybe cruel. But others see someone with a clear head willing to make tough choices. Someone who protected the crown and stopped things before they got worse. Both sides think they're right. Maybe they both are. Meanwhile, somewhere in California, Meghan's world looks completely different. The phone calls slowed down, the invitations dried up, the brand deals aren't happening, and the world has stopped calling her Duchess. Not officially yet, but socially. Prince William's idea to get this all done, at once really shows the determination. Culturally, it's happening. People are moving on, already finding the next person to be interested in. Hollywood's brutal like that. It doesn't hold grudges. It just moves. Yesterday's stars are already replaced. The industry that once saw Meghan as a golden opportunity now sees her as yesterday's story. The shine wore off the moment passed. And that's got to be the hardest pill to swallow. Not that William won or Charles chose silence, but that none of it matters as much as they thought. The royal drama that took up years of their lives. This morning, Prince Harry back in Britain working the crowds and spending time with cousins close to his heart. That took over headlines. It's already fading. People are already bored, already ready for the next scandal. Here's the thing about titles. They're just symbols, words attached to names. But when you build your entire identity around a symbol, losing them doesn't just change your name tag. It changes everything. Your relationships, your opportunities, your sense of self, all of it gets rewritten. William understood that by controlling who got to use those royal titles. He was controlling the story, deciding who mattered and who didn't, who was in and who was out. And he used that understanding harshly. As my heir, William now takes on the Scottish titles, which have meant so much to me. For the royal family, this is the beginning of something new. William's reset worked. He trimmed the family down, cut out what wasn't working, and rebuilt something that'll last. Whether it saves the royal family long term, nobody knows. But he made his move. He bet on discipline over emotion. For Meghan and Harry, this is the silence after the storm. They wanted freedom. They got it. Privacy, they got that too. But they also wanted importance, respect, influence. And those things are slipping away faster than they imagined. I think both of us, he's definitely got more brains than me. I think we've established that from school. But when it comes to all that, I think I'm much better hands-on. So what's left when your identity was borrowed? When the crown was never really yours? When the titles that opened all those doors are suddenly gone? That's the question Meghan's living with now. Maybe she figures it out, reinvents herself, builds something new. Maybe she fades into comfortable being unknown. Maybe something else entirely. But one thing's certain, the game changed. William changed it. The palace moved on. The public moved on. Hollywood moved on. And somewhere in California, the people are trying to figure out how to move on, too. Titles don't make royals. Service does. Being honest does. Commitment does. There was no cost of living crisis for the royal family. It's taxpayers' money. It's your money. It's my money. It's the viewers' money. That's what William's been saying all along. And whether you agree with him or not, he made his point. He drew his line and he's not looking back. So, there you have it. The royal family's changing. The California dream's fading. And this whole royal drama is far from over. Honestly, the next few years are going to be wild to watch. What do you think? Is this the right move for the crown, or has it gone too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I want to know where you stand on this. And if you made it this far, hit that like button. It actually helps more than you think. Subscribe if you're not already. Turn on notifications because trust me, this story isn't done yet. There's more coming and you won't want to miss it.